Good evening, everyone. It is Friday, March the 27th, 2020. It is currently 9:58 p.m. Central Time, and I'm currently standing inside Victory Baptist Church. I am in the sanctuary, and I was sitting at home, and all of a sudden an idea came to me. I thought, I could really illustrate a particular Bible verse that I have been meditating on for a few days. We introduced this Bible verse a few days ago on the Theology Central podcast, but all of a sudden tonight I'm like, I think this could be a very helpful illustration. Hopefully it will. It may not work, but you have to try, right? So let's look at the scripture in question, Ephesians chapter 5. In Ephesians chapter 5, we have this idea of a walk. And if you hear, just so that you know, I'm not obviously recording with my Blue Yeti mic. I'm holding my iPad, so the sound quality here won't be perfect, but hopefully this will serve as a good illustration. So just stay with me. Here we go. Ephesians chapter 5. In Ephesians chapter 5, this concept of a walk, describing the Christian life as a walk. But in Ephesians chapter 5, we have this very interesting thing. If you look at verse 2, we are told, look at verse 1, "Be ye therefore followers of God as dear children." All right, following God. It's the idea of walking, following after. We are to follow after God. And how do we follow after God? What should describe that walk of following God? Well, verse 2 gives us the first example. Walk in love. We are to walk in love, and we talked about what that means, how that could relate to the rest of that section in Ephesians. So walk in love. The second way we are to walk as a follower of God, look at verse 8, "For you were sometimes darkness, but now are ye light in the Lord. Walk as children of the light." We are to walk as children of the light. There was a time we were darkness. That is before our salvation. As someone who is not a Christian, we are darkness. That is associated with the absence of light. There is no spiritual light in us. We are spiritually dead. There is no light. This speaks of sinfulness. This speaks of the absence of light. And that's where we were. We were in the darkness. We were darkness. Darkness was our dominion. Darkness was our life. But something changed. As a Christian, we are brought into the light. And now we are to walk as children of the light. This same idea shows up in the gospel, not the idea of walking, but in Matthew chapter 5, we read this. Matthew chapter 5, go back to verse, let me see if I can find it. Matthew chapter 5, verse 14. Matthew chapter 5, verse 14. "You are the light of the world." We are to serve as the light of the world. Think about that. That is a grave responsibility. We were in darkness, but now we are associated with light. Now we have spiritual light. We have life. We are not in that darkness. "Now you are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven." Now we can kind of understand that, but I ask the question, what does it mean to walk as children of light? What does that actually entail? What does that look like? What does that mean? And the devotional guide that I was looking at when I did that episode kind of just said we walk as children of light, so we just expose error. And I'm like, well, it's got to mean more than that. That the concept has to mean more than that. Now, I'm going to try to illustrate this. Now, please note, illustration. Illustration does not, I make this very clear, does not mean that every little point's going to perfectly line up. I'm just trying to illustrate the general concept of walking as a child of light. So let's start inside this building. I'm inside a church. And inside the church, if we were to hold a service, now I know right now with the COVID-19 coronavirus situation going on, churches can't hold traditional services, but typically people walk through the door. And we walk through that door as children of light. So if I picture this sanctuary full of Christians, all the people who are Christian are all children of light, and we're all sitting here, we're all in the light, we're all shining, we're okay, great, wonderful. And it's great that children of light come into a church to be equipped and to be taught. But what has to happen is that we are to walk as children of light outside the church. And I think if I walk outside this front door right now, we'll get a better understanding of what it means to walk as a child of light. So that's what I wanted to do. I drove out here at 10 o'clock at night because I want to illustrate this. Now, if it was video, maybe it would be more dramatic. I don't know. I think in a way it'll be more dramatic because it's not video. Because you will have to picture it in your mind. But I think you'll understand. So I'm walking to the door. And I'm walking out. And I hope I don't lose my connection. All right, I'm standing now right in front of Victory Baptist Church, Ovalo, Texas. Now, there's a little light where I'm currently standing. But if anyone was to drive by, because I'm holding in my hand an iPad, which is lit up. Now, even though there's a little bit of light around me, the fact that I'm holding an iPad, anyone to drive by, anyone to walk by, anyone who is even standing somewhere looking at me, they're going to notice it immediately. They're going to see the light. I'm going to stand out because there's a light. And this is very illustrative of what it means. We are to walk as children of light, but we are to walk in and around the world because that's how it's demonstrated. That is how it is seen. That is how it's understood. That's how it's made visible. Where we're all sitting inside the church, no good. But when I'm standing out here next to a street where cars driving by, seeing me talking to an iPad, it's going to stand out because they see the light of the iPad in the darkness. That's where the light needs to be. That's where it's shown. Now, if I walk over here, hopefully I don't lose my connection. I'm paying close attention to the signal strength. If I walk over here, now, if I go any further, I'm basically in complete darkness. I am in complete darkness right now. You can't see anything other than the light of the iPad. That's when it becomes even more visible. The greater the darkness, the more visible the light becomes. The darker things are, the greater the light is needed. The darker it is, the more the light is needed, and that's an important concept. I'm walking to another section where hopefully I won't lose internet connection. Yes, now I can't see. Yeah, I am absolutely in the dark. I mean, I can't even see where I'm walking. It is pitch black right here. Now, this is where the light is seen. No one could miss the light right here at all. No one could miss it. And that's the point. To walk as children of light. I want you to think about this, okay? Here's just a couple of thoughts. Yeah, I'm going to get attacked by dogs now. Okay, I'm going to walk back around to the other side of the building. All right, but I want you to think about this. When I walk over there in the absolute black darkness, guess what? The light of the iPad illuminates. It illuminates the darkness so that I can see. There's a highway next to the church for those who don't know where our church is located. the iPad illuminates. It absolutely illuminates. So therefore, we serve as a light to show people the way. We are to show people. So I want you to think about this. What does it mean to walk as a child of light? You are to illuminate the way in darkness where they can't see where to go, where nobody can see the next step. In fact, when I walked around the corner to complete darkness, I could not see. I had to almost turn the iPad around and show it towards the ground so that I could see my foot. I could see where I was going to step. I didn't want to step on a rattlesnake in the middle of West Texas here. That's what it means. It is to illuminate the way for others. Now, yes, please note, it's to show them the way. That's why Christians have to be in the darkness, in the sense that we are to walk as children of light in the darkness, so we can illuminate the way, so that other people can see the way. That's our responsibility. But we are to walk as children of light. If we don't walk and let our light be shown, and they don't see it, then we don't illuminate anything. So it illuminates. I think we can clearly, I just illustrated it for myself. I couldn't see anything. And then I turned the iPad around, which has the light source, and I could see, okay, now I know where I'm stepping. So it illuminates. Second, it reveals. Now, this is the negative aspect. As a Christian, we do reveal the things that are in the darkness. Our life is to demonstrate a morality, a godliness that will reveal the ungodliness of darkness, and that makes people uncomfortable. So we are to reveal it. Now, it doesn't mean we have to just reveal it with our words. We should live in such a way that it reveals the darkness of the actions of those we are around by our life, not just by our words. So it illuminates, it reveals. I think those are two major aspects of walking as a child of light. We illuminate and we reveal. I think that is very helpful. We illuminate, we reveal. You could argue, we could probably take it a little bit further, but whatever concepts I come up with, it would probably fall under one of those two categories, right? If I came up with a different idea, it would still fall under the illuminate or reveal. Illuminate or reveal would be the two ideas that would show up over and over and over and over again. So I want you to think about that. But here's the thing. To walk as a child of light has to mean more than just walking around. I think sometimes we think, to walk as a child of light means, we reduce it to a very small list. Like, we don't listen to the same music, or we don't watch the same movies, or we don't go the same places. And I think it has to entail more than that. I think it has to entail that we walk as a child of light because we have a different worldview. We see everything differently because we see things in the light. The rest of the world is groping around in darkness. Their philosophy is a philosophy of darkness. They don't see. We supposedly have been illuminated through the Holy Spirit and by His Word that we can see. So we are children of light when we walk in a biblical worldview and philosophy. And that should shine like if someone right now was to look over, they would see this iPad and they would see someone holding an iPad in the middle of the darkness and probably would get their gun and start shooting at me here in a minute. Okay, because it's like it stands out. Our philosophy, our worldview should reveal being a child of light. Sometimes our worldview and our philosophy actually reflects darkness. Sometimes we are more influenced by the darkness than we are influencing the darkness. So I think that's a very important point. It's a way of thinking. It's a belief. It's a worldview. It's biblical. It's a philosophy of light in the midst of a philosophy of darkness. Second, obviously, to walk as a child of light has to also include living a moral and holy life. We demonstrate that, and that's not done with words. That's done with actions. Actions that are public, and obviously we need those actions in private as well, which many times we fail. Now, of course, no one is saying we're going to do these things perfectly. That's why we need Christ. But we are called to walk as children of light. And I think it involves a philosophy that is seen and a way of life. A way of life. a way of life that people go, man, there's something different. And it's not just they don't drink, they don't cuss. I think it's a love for enemy. It's a forgiveness of enemy. It goes something like that. I think that is an important part. So I'm going to say to walk as a child of light as a worldly, as a biblical philosophy of light that, listen, illuminates, okay, and it will reveal. It is also to walk as a child of light is to live a godly, holy, moral life, which will illuminate and it will reveal. But I think there's a third aspect of this. Very important. If we have the light and we are light, don't we have a responsibility to go walk right in the midst of the darkness? It's a little nerve-wracking. Like I'm walking that way again. Now, right here where I'm standing, I've got some light. But when I round this corner, the light's going to be gone. I can't see anything. It's uncomfortable. I don't know I know there's some big dogs close by, so I'm trying to keep my voice down because I don't want some big dog come tearing through the trees. Cujo comes after me and next thing I know I'm dead. Okay, I don't want to step on a rattlesnake. It's uncomfortable. I don't like it. Right? It's uncomfortable. But we have to be willing to walk in the darkness because there's people there in the darkness that we are supposed to try to illuminate the way out. To reveal to them a different way. But we have to be willing to do that. We have to be. Cars are driving by looking at me like, what is he doing? Okay, I'm going to get the sheriff called on me probably. Okay, so but I think it's important that it is uncomfortable to walk in the darkness because you stand out like a sore thumb. Everyone's going to be looking at you, but someone's got to be able to walk in the darkness. And I think too many times Christians, we want to avoid darkness. We don't want to get anywhere near darkness. We want to stay as far away from darkness. We want to sit inside our pew in the light with other people of the light and let the darkness, let the people rot in darkness. But someone's got to walk into it. We've got to go into it. And right now, our world turned upside down in the middle of a global pandemic, this COVID-19 situation. Christians need to be light. 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 So walk as children of light. I think those are some good concepts there that we have. And I know this may be like, it may come across as a dumb illustration, but I hope you'll at least remember it. That to walk as a child of light, to be a child of light, that has to involve an illumination. We illuminate, we reveal. And the way this works is, as Christians, we are children of light when we walk in a philosophy of light, a worldview of light, not a worldview of darkness, right? When we live out a godly, moral life, right? That we, not without even words, people can see it. And third, that we walk as children of light because we're willing to walk into the darkness to help those out. To help those out. But is your light shining? Where is it shining at? Now, sometimes we're good at making it shine good outside our family, around people at work or strangers. Sometimes it doesn't shine so good inside our own homes. That's something to think about. Walk as children of light. I'm going to walk back into the church right now. I'm going to walk back into the church. I hope I did not lose in any way, shape, or form my internet connection. But I'm just going to go back to Ephesians 5, and I'll end, because I wanted just this to be short. Now what I want you to do is I want you to consider this idea of walking in the light. And we probably will come back to this at some point. But I want you to consider it now with the rest of these verses, all right? Ephesians chapter 5, Verse 8 to 14 is all about walking as children of light. Now consider the concept with the verses that come after it, all right? So let's start in verse 8. For you were sometimes darkness, but now are you light in the Lord. Walk as children of light. We used to be in the darkness, and we were rescued from it, and we should be grateful. And Jesus Christ, who is truly the light of the world, the true light, he came in to darkness to rescue us. So we should be willing to do the same. All right. So for you were sometimes darkness, but now are you light. But now are you light in the Lord. Walk as children of the light. For the fruit of the Spirit is in all goodness and righteousness and truth. So somehow walking in the light has something to do with fruit of the Spirit, it seems. Proving what is acceptable unto the Lord. All right, that's interesting. And have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. For it is a shame even to speak of those things which are done of them in secret. But all things that are reproved are made manifest by the light. For whatsoever doth make manifest is light. Wherefore he saith, awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and Christ shall give thee light. So there is a reproving and a revealing element to it. But I think the fruits of the Spirit connection there, which is interesting, also gives us the idea of illumination. We illuminate a different way of life. We illuminate a different way of thinking. So, all right, I'll stop right there. Something to think about, and maybe this will be an interesting way for you to consider this concept. Here's what I want you to do. As a Christian, think about, are you walking as a child of light? How can you make that scripture more true, more real, more evident in your life? Where is the darkness you need to be in to show that light? All right, we'll stop right there. Everyone have a great evening. Please continue to be safe, be informed about the current situation with COVID-19. Look out for yourself, look out for your family, look out for your neighbor. Do what you can to be light to people around you. And as Christians, please use this time to continue to grow spiritually. Think and meditate on what we just talked about. And if you have any thoughts about it, email me at newsif@yahoo.com. newsif@yahoo.com. All right, thank you for listening to this a little different approach, but hopefully it will be beneficial. And so I'm going to turn off all the lights in this building and get in my car and drive back home. Thanks for listening. God bless.